I'm out on vacation or when I just unplug for a weekend, I can feel a restoration of my soul. And it actually feels a lot like Sabbath. Like it feels a lot like, okay, this is what genuine rest is. This is what genuine Sabbath feels like, which makes me think that, and I haven't quite answered your question yet, but this makes me think that part of the issue is that the way we're living online is actually work. So we're actually laboring for no reward. We're not working the ground that we're made from in order to produce something that can fill the earth and we can subdue it to the glory of God and to the betterment of His people. We're just laboring. We're just hamsters in a wheel. And so when we get off the wheel, even if it's for a day or a weekend, we feel kind of this restoration of our mind.
Yeah.
So to that end, the question is like, okay, well, why should I even have the internet at all? Like, why can't I just throw out my machines? Well, here's what I would say to that. One, McLuhan and Postman's observations were not necessarily that the world needed to completely reject the television or the railroad or the jet engine. Their observations, in fact, were kind of against that, because they said, this is the kind of world we have now. Like there's no going backward, because philosophically speaking, once these plausibility structures are in place, you can't get rid of them. People now think in terms of television and jet travel and the railroad and the internet now. So to be realistic and to be philosophically cogent, we have to acknowledge that kind of plausibility structure is here to stay. So the question, I think, is, how does that guide our individual choices, first of all, and how does it guide how we kind of counsel each other? So individually, I actually think there are some technologies, some web technologies that we need to be very skeptical of, particularly web technologies that seem very addictive and very immersive to our attention spans. I think we need to be very careful about any technology that kind of holds with it this promise of relief from our loneliness, from our insecurity, from our sense of not really knowing who we are. And there's a lot of these. So I use one example of the book of, YouTube reaction videos and how, reaction videos are simulating the experience of friendship. Because what do you do when you go to a movie with your friends? You don't just watch the movie, you watch them watch the movie. And that's part of the reward of it, right? The reaction video is, and in fact, a lot of influencer content kind of simulates friendship. Every influencer starts every video with, "Hey guys," it's that very congenial sense of oh, you're my friend. And in fact, you're not their friend. And if you tried to act like their friend in a very meaningful way, if you just ran across them, they would probably call the police. And that's that. But that's the way the world is being staged now. So I think we should be very, very careful of expressions of the internet that make explicit plays on what it means to be human. I think we need to hold each other accountable. So I actually don't know my Twitter password. My wife does. And so I have to log off and then ask for her to log me back in. And that creates this, not only this obviously accountability, I have to get her in the know, but also if I'm going overboard, she kind of knows, because she's like, yeah, you haven't asked for your password in 2 months. And I saw on your page that you're averaging probably 10 tweets a day. You probably need a break. Sense of, she actually can see what I do. And because she's not immersed in this world the same way that I am, she can pull me out of it. And I think that's what we need, Shane. I think that's what we need in terms of our friendships, in terms of our relationships. We need to pull each other out of the fog. And that requires rejecting one of the internet's primary values, and that's privacy. So we have to reject the value of privacy. I don't mean privacy with the government. I mean privacy with each other, with people who are closest to us. We need lots of privacy from the government, but we don't. In fact, it's the opposite. The situation that we're in is the opposite. The government knows everything that we're doing. Our spouses don't. It needs to be the opposite. The people closest to us need to be able to tell where we're falling into these patterns and to have the power in our lives to bring us out. And I honestly think that in a technological world where we're not going to put the computer back in Pandora's box, we're not going to get rid of it. I think that's kind of what the essence of what the Lord's calling us to do is to understand the effect that these technologies have, and then preach the gospel of the real embodied physical love your neighbor, go to church gospel to each other in a way that helps each other see through this fog.